for tuning in real quick for this quick connection with Rodney Payne. I am here and I'm your host, April Metzler, of course, for this little space and hangout. He's your host normally on the platforms that we're broadcasting to. We're sharing space today, collaborating over the airwaves on my platforms as well as his to do something special, a little voice to voice conversation here about why in the world Rodney wanted to hang out with us and be a featured speaker at our event for the Unlock Extraordinary Leadership Potential. And it's a 5-day challenge, you guys, but we have extended it to 15 days because we know who we serve. We are serving busy leaders through this event space. And
Mhm.
y'all do the most sometimes. I am speaking in the mirror, of course, when I say that. And I'm
Mhm.
maybe even talking to Rodney.
Absolutely.
So, Rodney, why don't you share a little bit for my audience, because I know your audience probably knows you a little bit by now,
Mhm.
hopefully. But why don't you share with my audience who you are, what you do, how you serve others, all that jazz, give them an insight of who in the world's on their video screen right now.
Gotcha. Listen, thanks, April, for the opportunity. I am simply a guy that is put on this planet to help people experience the best version of themselves every day in every area of their life. That whether that's my day job, full-time pastor, or my side job, which is an executive coach, where I help people to experience that best version of themselves. So it's all about whatever I can do to help get you to the next level. And so that's really my focus in a nutshell.
See, and that's why we align so well. There's always a next step, a next conversation, another connection, and I'm all about that next level going together and moving forward with that. So Rodney, of course, you do hold a lot of roles, and we won't go into the weeds of that because we'll be here for a long time. And I'm looking at my fake watch right now, folks. Why don't you let them know a little bit about what you're going to be speaking on, because yours doesn't come up until the 5th day, which is this Friday. You guys, you obviously all have an opportunity to register. We keep registration open until Thursday on these events on purpose because we know that you want to be able to jump in and it's all open and available to you. But he's going to be speaking on overwhelm. And Rodney, what about this event really just resonated with you and what you do and how you serve others? And why did you give me your yes to be a featured speaker?
Well, I have been a part of a few things, a few collaborations and partnerships, if you will. But when you approached me, I'm still trying to wrap my head around how you can provide this much content on its surface for the number of days you provided and to get what you need to help you. It doesn't cost you anything. And so I'm like, that's great. I want to help people. I do a podcast. There's no fee for that. I do a couple of mentorships. There's no fee for that. So whenever I can add value to someone and to find someone who is like-minded in that, it was an opportunity that I just simply couldn't pass up. And so and when we talked, it was such a connection. I thought we can work together. So the goal is how many people can we help and just get the opportunity to get to that next level.
Yeah. I agree, and it's I think that it resonated with me on my side of it too. I'm like, this guy's got it. Like this, we're in alignment, man. He's in stride with serving other people. I like the picture that comes to mind right now. Like you're the type of guy that's like climbing the mountain, and then you reach down behind you to help the other guys climb up with you and get to the top. So, and whatever that top looks like, but then you're also the guy that's down there in the valley saying, "All right, you guys, let's get up." Like we fell down a couple times, but we got more stuff to do. We got forward steps to take. Let's go. So, I
I am absolutely your accountability guy who is going to tell you that yes, you can do it. And I'm so kind. I've gotten the cheat code, the hack for hard work, and I'm not a selfish guy, so I'll share that with you. The cheat code for hard work is hard work. So you can't get to the top of that mountain without doing the work. You have to do the work.
yeah.
But there are easier ways to do the work. You can work smarter and not harder and still get there. And so my goal is to help unlock what's in you to get you where you want to go. And so many times overwhelm is just such a drag and can stop you in your tracks. And that's why that's one of my favorite topics.
Yeah. And you and I were figuring out what we were gonna have you speak on too, because you can speak on all of those topics. We're talking about burnout, we
Mhm,
discussed that, you coulda
mhm,
spoke on that, you're talking about
mhm.
procrastination,
Oh,
you're probably a ninja with time management because of how many things that you do.
mhm.
But what about overwhelm really spoke to you? Like, let's just get a behind the scenes Rodney thought process here.
So when overwhelm is different than any of the others. First of all, I have a PhD in procrastination, just so you know, I've got it mastered. But people with that challenge or the others that you mentioned, it's a little bit different than overwhelm. Overwhelm stops you. The others delay you or may take you a little longer, but overwhelm, it's a weight that you carry that becomes an emotional process, that becomes a burden process. And so now you have all of these things that you want to do, the goals you want to accomplish, but overwhelm just it weighs you down like weights on your shoulder, and you really can't lift your head up. So we've got to get some things, and there are techniques you can use, but we got to get clarity so that we can everything that's in your bag is not necessarily assigned to you. So overwhelm is often self-induced. You have to carry a bag, I call it a bag, things that you have been given to do in this life. And you've been given plenty where you don't have room to put somebody else's stuff in your bag. And where overwhelm comes from is when you put things in your bag that don't belong to you.
Mm. Oof, that's good. And we didn't even touch on that during the interview. We touched on all sorts of kinds of other things, and that's really what this event is. I want to share with you guys because this is just, well, it's for your platform too, of course. All of the
Mhm,
folks that you're broadcasting to on your audience and communities, and all of the people that you're connected with right now seeing this video, it's for y'all too. But for my people, they've seen my face a couple times on this whole thing. So I'm
mhm,
just gonna inject an extra layer of this experience because and I call it an experience because that's what it is. Every moment that we have available to us literally is a moment for us to sit still and be real and be candid and be raw and vulnerable with ourselves about what we're dealing with. And there's so many times though that that's one of the hardest conversations that we actually have is the
mhm,
ones with ourselves because that's when we really got to take an inventory of what's going on and why we're feeling the way that we're feeling, why we're choosing these things, why we're speaking the way we're speaking, why we're thinking the way we're thinking, why we're doing what we're doing. It's all of these things that we have to come to terms with, and so often it's easier for us to distract ourselves. And sometimes that distraction does equate to overwhelm on top of everything else.
mhm,
But if we want something different in this life, we really have to pause and consider what different looks like in action. And if we owe it to ourselves to do that, if otherwise we're just going to struggle, we're just going to continue like in this cycle. And so, one of the things that I find through this experience that I've heard people say already, especially through the first event, is that they were able to sit still and look at themselves closely in these things. And I've already seen people pivoting and
mhm,
shifting and doing things differently and trying new things out, a new way of thinking, a new core belief, a new this or that. And it's tremendously helped them. And if that is all that comes from you guys getting registered and setting that time aside to just sit still and have those harder conversations with yourself, then this is a success. That's all I have to say. Like, and
mhm.
however you define success, hopefully this redefines it for you. Because when you invest in yourself, that is an intentional choice to move
Absolutely.
forward. So what are your thoughts on that, Rodney, before I hop
Yeah.
off here?
Oh gosh, see, you get me all started, and then we got to hurry up. No, there's two words came to mind as you were talking about self inventory, self evaluation. It's transparency and honesty. I understand why you don't want to tell anybody else your weaknesses, your opportunities to grow, or what's wrong with you. I understand the vulnerability that goes with that. But if you are going to move from where you are to where you want to be, you have to tell yourself the truth. I know that procrastination can be an issue for me. So I had to find a schedule, a system that works with how I do things. I know I am not a check the boxes kind of guy. I'm more of a block kind of guy. I use blocks of time. I use things like that. And what that does is it helps with my time management, but really what it's doing is it's managing my overwhelm. So I had to be honest. So I have to know how I communicate, have to know how I prefer to be communicated with. I have to learn these things. And again, when speaking to me, not to you, when speaking to me about me, I have to be honest and I have to be transparent. The biggest challenge for us is we often will not admit to ourselves that, yes, I procrastinate. No, I was just waiting because, no, you're waiting because you're a procrastinator. Now deal with it. We can't fix it if we won't deal with it. Be honest with yourself and then address those things because I am a strengths guy. I believe you grow exponentially in your strengths. You can only move your weaknesses marginally. So you have to do some augmentation, adding where you're weak. You have to do now some things in your weaknesses are not optional. Character and integrity, they don't get to be a weakness. You have to fix that. You have to address that. But many other things, like we're on social media right now. Not my favorite thing to do ever. So I pay somebody to help me with that because if you wait on me, I am not talented like April. I can't do what you can do. Listen, and I know that. So instead of suffering in that area, I get help. And so that's what I would say. Honesty and transparency with yourself will help you with evaluations and overcoming overwhelm and other things in your life.
I like that. Yeah, and this experience that we've set up, it's a space. It's a virtual space for you guys to really look at these things from a reflection standpoint on all areas of your life. You're going to find out of all of these 15 interviews with these amazing speakers that are coming forth with this whole thing, we have established 120 different challenges for you to have available to you. However, there's no expectation of performance here. There's no KPI metrics for those of you leaders who operate in those CEO and chief executive positions that know what I'm talking about. I am referring to the fact that this is about presence, not performance, and how you show up in every space will determine how everything else pans out, including performance. And so it all ties together, it all connects, and we just want to create that space and environment for you to be able to do what he's talking about and what I mentioned, to reflect and take action. And the crazy thing is, like he said, it's free. He doesn't know how it's free. It doesn't make sense to him, and that's because he's had years of experience in this space and he knows what kind of value is being brought to the table with this. How in the world I turned 15 minutes of an interview conversation into this much is, a whole other conversation. But
Yeah. And I
well,
don't want to get in trouble here. All I'm saying is that you have an opportunity
yes.
to get a catalog of information at your disposal. You don't have to do every lesson. You go find your niche and what you need help with,
Yep.
and you get people who are experts in those specific areas to give you information. You have challenges to support. So I'm telling you, go ahead and register, get access, and then if you can't do it all, cherry pick, get something that you need help with. If you're struggling with overwhelm, my session is going to help you, but I only have one session. There are tons of other sessions out there that will help you. So you can't beat an opportunity like this. It's free to gain access to, but it's invaluable for what it would cost you if you had to pay the people. The difference is you got to be willing to do the work. I told you
Mhm.
the secret for hard work, right? It's hard work. So, and I want to tell you something else to my leaders out there. You're worth it. You're worth the investment in yourself of time to become the best version of yourself. You're worth it. You can get to the next level. And regardless of what you offer to your team, your family, and everybody else, you, my friend, deserve to experience the best version of yourself every day in every area of your life.
Mm. That's good. I'd add an extra layer to that, but I don't wanna water down or degrade any way, shape, or form, and
Add
I
it.
my
Add
words
it. It's good.
would
Add it.
be he said, "Go ahead and add it." No, it's true. Like, this whole space, that's one of the reasons I created it, is to safeguard the value of people and how much they matter. That's it. Once you grab a hold of that and understand it's not if you have impact, but when you have impact, you actually determine what that impact is going to be by those additional quiet time investments of growth, of learning about who you are and how you function in this world. And it's needed. If you don't take the time to pause for you and to gain that understanding, the impact that you have is diminished, and there's so much more out there available for you to do, so much light to bring into the world. Like if you want to go on your pastor side of it to some of these folks, faith-based folks that you reach out to on your community side of it, there's just so much change. And
Mhm.
it might sound cliche, but when it says be the change that you wanna see in the world, I could go into so much about what it means to be, and that's what presence will get you. That
Mhm.
whole key right there is enough to meditate on for weeks on end about how you show up because of how you are, who you are. The being. It's not the doing, it's the being. The doing comes from the being. Get that into the key box here and unlock that, and you're gonna find so much more potential than you already have right now as you are.
Exciting,
Yeah,
exciting.
I love it. All right, you guys, we are going to get off here though. Thank you so much for your time. This is a quick connect, not a lengthy one. We could talk for hours, but we're not going to. Go ahead and get registered though with Rodney's personal invite link because I am honoring him for hanging out with me today. And that is how we roll over here. It's not about me. It's not about Rodney. It's about us working together so that we can move forward together one step at a time. And just remember, stay in the step that you're in. And of course, you're going to hear this on all these interviews. And I'm trying not to be cliche today, but it just seems to be the vibe. Uh, but continue to stay focused and keep taking action as intentionally teachable leaders is what I say on all of those. That's my catchphrase, but it's true. Stay focused and keep taking action one step at a time, you guys. All right. We'll talk to you later.